She told me, "I need space, don't call me." Then went to the beach with her guy friend. So I changed the locks, packed her things, and flew first class without her. When she returned to an empty apartment, she finally realized who actually needed space. When she said the words, she didn't even look up from her phone. "I need some space. Don't call me for a while, okay?" Just like that. Flat tone. Blank expression. Like she was asking me to pick up milk on the way home. I stared at her for a moment, trying to process whether this was serious or another one of those tests she liked to run. Little emotional games to see how much I cared, how much I'd chase, how much I'd tolerate. But something in her voice told me she wasn't planning to explain anything. So I kept my expression neutral. "All right," I said, "if that's what you need." She blinked, almost surprised I didn't argue. Then she gave a small nod and walked out the door. For the first 24 hours, I stuck to what she asked. No texts, no calls, no double messages. I gave her exactly what she said she wanted. Then on the second day, I opened Instagram. And there it was, a fresh set of photos posted by her best guy friend, who I always knew had a thing for her, even when she pretended he was like a brother. They were at the beach, laughing, arms a little too close. Her in the bikini she told me she didn't feel comfortable wearing this summer. Caption: "Much needed escape with the best company relieved face." And she liked it. Of course she did. I didn't comment. I didn't like it. I didn't block them. Instead, I smiled. Not out of spite, not out of jealousy, but because in that moment, everything became clear. I wasn't her partner. I was her backup plan. If she wanted space, she could have all the space in the world. In fact, she could have her freedom, her guy friend, her beach trip, and anything else she suddenly felt she was missing. So I got to work. I changed the locks, packed every single one of her things, neatly, respectfully, and completely. Called her mom and said, "Hi, Mrs. Collins. I'm dropping off Emily's belongings. She asked for space, so I'm giving it to her." Her mom didn't argue, didn't ask questions, didn't defend her either. Just sighed and said, "I'll be home." An hour later, her entire life with me was sitting in tidy boxes in her childhood bedroom. I left the apartment spotless, quiet, peaceful. And by the time she came back from the beach, sunburned and smiling, her key wouldn't turn. That's when the calls started. Call 1. "Why did you change the locks?" Call 5. "Are you serious right now?" Call 12. "You're being childish. Open the door." Call 17. "This isn't funny. Pick up." But I didn't answer any of them. Because when her 17th missed call flashed on my phone, I was already settling into a fully reclined first-class seat, champagne in hand. Headed across the country for a conference she told me she didn't feel like joining. And the seat right next to me? Taken by one of my coworkers, Ava, sharp, confident, and smiling at me like she saw something in me my girlfriend never appreciated. She raised her glass. "Rough morning." I smirked. "Actually, no. It's the calmest I've felt in months." Her phone buzzed again. Another call. Another text. Another paragraph in all caps. But I didn't even look. Because space was exactly what she asked for. And I had finally given both of us the kind she never saw coming. By the time the plane took off, she had called 24 times. Ava glanced at my phone vibrating nonstop and raised an eyebrow. "Ex?" she asked casually. "Something like that," I said. Truth was, she wasn't an ex yet. Not officially, but emotionally. Yeah, that relationship ended the moment I saw her at that beach. As the plane climbed through the clouds, I finally switched my phone to airplane mode. Silence. Perfect, beautiful silence. Ava leaned closer, lowering her voice. "You look relieved. Not heartbroken. Not angry. Just done." I smiled at that. "Yeah," I said. "I think I hit my limit without realizing it." She nodded like she understood exactly what that meant. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. Not someone under constant tests. Not someone being punished with silent treatments. Not someone walking on eggshells. Just me. Meanwhile, back on the ground, as I later learned from her mother, the moment Emily got home and found her boxes gone, she went straight into meltdown mode. She banged on the door, tried her old key, tried the spare key she hid in her makeup bag, then tried her mom's key. None worked. She called her mom. "Why is all my stuff here? What is this?" Her mom, already tired of her dramatics, simply said, "You said you needed space." He respected that. Apparently, Emily went completely silent. For once, she didn't know what to say. Then she panicked. Hard. She stormed out of her mom's house, probably speeding back to my apartment, imagining every worst-case scenario. That I dumped her, that I replaced her, that I moved out, that I moved someone in. Her texts reflected that spiral. Can we talk? Why would you do this? This is crazy. Where are you? Please call me. Please. By the time I landed, I had 46 missed calls and 19 texts. Not one of them said, "I'm sorry." Not one of them said, "I messed up." It was all panic, but no accountability. Typical. Arriving at the conference, Ava and I checked into the hotel. Our rooms were on the same floor. She laughed as we walked down the hallway. Your phone keeps buzzing. Should I be worried someone's about to jump out of a bush? She's persistent, I admitted. But she made her choice. Ava smirked. People don't like consequences for choices they thought would only affect someone else. We stopped at our doors. Ava hesitated for a moment, then said, "If you ever want to grab dinner while we're here, you know where to find me." Not flirty, not pushy, just open. I appreciated that more than she realized. I showered, changed into fresh clothes, and checked my phone one more time. Now it was 57 missed calls, and one text stood out. "Who is the woman you're sitting next to?" Oh, so she saw the tagged photo my coworkers posted from the airport lounge. She wasn't posting beach pics with her best friend anymore. Now she was interrogating mine. Funny how fast the space evaporated once she thought someone else filled it. I put my phone face down on the dresser. She wanted space? I was giving her miles of it, and I didn't plan on closing that distance anytime soon. Update 1. I woke up to 3 things. Sunlight through hotel curtains. My phone vibrating nonstop. Nearly 30 new messages from Emily. But the surprising part wasn't the number of texts. It was the tone. Gone was the attitude. Gone was the space. Gone was the cold distance. Her messages had shifted into something else entirely. "Hey, can we talk? I didn't mean for things to get weird. Why aren't you answering me? Please just tell me where you are. I feel sick. I can't stop thinking about you." I scrolled in silence, sipping the hotel's terrible coffee. Then another message came in. A longer one. "I shouldn't have gone to the beach with Mark. It wasn't what it looked like. I never wanted space from you, just stress. Can we fix this? Please." A lie. And she knew it. I'd caught them in photos, angles far too intimate for just friends. Her being on her stomach, him rubbing sunscreen on her back, them sharing a drink, her sitting between his legs at the shoreline. She had forgotten her friend group posted Instagram stories constantly. Nothing stayed private anymore. Meanwhile, at the conference, Ava found me at breakfast. "You look like someone who read a trilogy of text messages," she joked. "More like a full season," I said, pushing my phone aside. She nudged it with 2 fingers. "Let me guess, she wants to talk." I raised an eyebrow. "Am I that predictable?" "No," she said, buttering her toast. "Women like her are." That made me laugh harder than I expected. Then Ava leaned back, studying me. "Let me ask you something. Before all this, were you happy with her?" I didn't answer immediately. I actually had to think about it. Finally, I shook my head. "I think I was just used to her." Ava nodded slowly. "Comfort isn't always peace. And space isn't always distance. It's clarity." She was right. Back home, things got louder. Around 11 a.m., I received a text from her mom. Emily showed up crying. "Said you abandoned her." I told her she asked for space. "Call me when you can." Her mom was on my side. That told me everything I needed to know. Then, a couple hours later, another text from her mom. "She's been pacing the house. You might want to talk to her before she does something dramatic." I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to be cruel, but because I knew. If I answered now, she'd learn nothing. She'd twist herself into the victim again. The cycle would restart. I needed more than her panic. I needed honesty. Accountability. Something she'd never given me in 2 years together. So I stayed silent. The moment the situation broke completely. At 3:42 p.m., I was speaking on a panel about remote collaboration strategies. My phone, muted, buzzed nonstop. When the panel ended, I checked it. 3 voicemails, 6 missed calls. But one text froze me. "I'm outside your apartment. Why is some woman's coat on your couch?" She had let herself in with the old key. Except, I had changed the locks. Which meant, she broke in through the balcony door we never used. I called building security. They checked. Yeah, she had climbed onto the railing, forced the balcony slider, and was sitting in the dark living room like a ghost in a bad horror movie. Security escorted her out. Her final message of the night read, "I messed up. Please come home." But I didn't. I had a reservation for dinner on the 27th floor with a skyline view. Ava was already waiting. Final update that I flew back home late Sunday night. Not because of her. Not because she begged. Not because I felt guilty. But because the conference was over and I had a life to return to. One I was finally starting to take control of. When I grabbed my luggage at the airport, I checked my phone. 5 missed calls. 2 texts. Both from her. Short, unlike her usual paragraphs of emotional gymnastics. "Are you coming home today? Please let me talk to you in person." I didn't answer. I took a taxi, exhaled deeply, and stepped into my building. Security nodded at me with a look that said, "We've been dealing with things." "Just so you know," the guard said. "She tried to come back earlier." Of course she did. I thanked him and rode the elevator up. My apartment felt different the moment I unlocked the door. Calmer, cleaner, strangely lighter, like someone had opened a window and let months of stale tension escape. She wasn't there. Good. I set down my bag, made tea, and sat in silence for the first time in a long time. Then, a knock. Soft, hesitant, not like the angry pounding she did earlier that week. The knock of someone who wasn't sure they were welcome. When I opened the door, she stood there, hair messy, makeup smeared like she'd been crying all day. "Can I come in?" she whispered. "No," I said gently but firmly. "We can talk out here." She swallowed hard, nodded, and looked down at her hands. There was no anger, no attitude, no defensiveness, just fear. "Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly. "You said you needed space," I said. "I respected that." "That's not." She choked on her words. "I didn't mean this." "But you meant the beach trip with him." Her face collapsed. "That wasn't." "It was exactly what it looked like," I said calmly. "And even if you somehow convinced me it wasn't cheating, it still wasn't respect." She wiped her eyes. "Why didn't you pick up my calls?" "I didn't think you wanted to talk to me," I said. "You wanted freedom. I gave it to you." She hugged herself, breathing shakily. "You changed the locks. You moved my things. You left with another woman." I shook my head. "That woman wasn't my girlfriend. She's just a co-worker who doesn't treat me like an option." She flinched at that. "Are you with her now?" "No," I said. "But I could be. And that's the point." Her chin trembled. She finally broke. "I didn't think you'd actually leave," she whispered. "I thought. You were always so patient. I thought you'd wait until I was ready again." I exhaled slowly. "That's the problem. You thought I'd always be there. No matter what you did. No matter how little you gave. No matter who you put before me." She stepped closer, desperation in her voice. "Please don't do this. We can fix it. I swear I'll try. I'll change. I'll—" I stopped her with a raised hand. "You're not a bad person. But you're not someone I can build a life with." She stared at me like I had flipped her world upside down. Then, for the first time in our relationship, she didn't argue. She didn't deflect. She didn't twist my words. She just nodded, wiped her cheeks, and whispered, "Okay." I handed her a small envelope, the last symbolic piece of our relationship. Inside was her spare key. "No more unfinished endings," I told her. She took it with shaking fingers. And then she left, quietly, without drama, without fake speeches, without grand gestures. Just left. Aftermath. Over the next few weeks, mutual friends asked what happened. I told them the truth, with no embellishments. She texted me once more. "I'm sorry." I didn't respond. I went to therapy, not because I was broken, but because I finally had space to grow. I spent more time with people who actually valued me. And yes, I eventually got dinner with Ava. But here's the real twist. I didn't replace her to prove a point. I didn't move on out of spite. I didn't chase validation or revenge. I just started living. Quietly, deliberately, peacefully. And for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for chaos. I wasn't waiting for a mood swing, or a silent treatment, or another test, or another space, period. I was free.